Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Movie Battleground. My name is Aaron Knoll. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. And tonight is a very exciting night because this match is the first of our first ever event kind of upload. We're putting up two, I don't know what to call it, but we're putting up two matches tonight back to back. Both of these featuring people of stature. Be sure to stick around after this match for our second match, in which Steve Mesa will take on the first ever champ of Movie Battleground, Evan DeGraff, in what is sure to be a fun time. But tonight, up first, we have two journeyman competitors of Movie Battleground taking it to the ring. First, we have Mr. Madeeh Ur, who is one of the gentlemen alongside myself, Subrath Sharma, and Evan DeGraff, who originally created the game. It's on his channel. He runs the channel, and that would point to all biases towards him, but I can't possibly be biased towards him with the competitor going against him in Madeeh Ur Rehman, who is one of the longest standing competitors we've had in this game. He's one of the most experienced players in terms of just straight up matches played, although his previous win-loss record wouldn't say he's experienced. He is an absolutely great guy, and I'm excited to have these two playing, man, because if there was a more fun match for two old pros to be put up against each other, it's two guys who I know are going to come at this with experience, but they're going to be laid back, and they're going to have a good-ass time. Speaking of good-ass time, let's go ahead and bring on a man I'm guaranteeing you's not wearing pants. I am joined by Madeeh Ur Rehman. How's it going, Madeeh?
No pants. Just wanted to make sure everyone knows about that. But no, I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be back in the battleground. I feel like it's been like 10,000 years since we've been here, but, you know, hey, it's a hell of a time. I'm here to have fun. Matt's a fun guy to have fun with. And based on these questions, I'm sure we're going to get into it.
It's going to be something.
I don't want to give anything away, but we talked about this. Fuck.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a match. I will tell you that. So
this is a match. That much we can say.
Based on that, obviously, you know, we have most of these matches have been rookies taking on either rookies or rookies getting screwed against vets. You're one of the few players with experience that is playing a player with experience. So how did you kind of prep for this? Did you even prep? Did you just take your pants off and hope it worked? Like, what's the plan here?
First of all, rude of you to assume that I've ever worn pants. To
Fair
take
enough.
off. Like they've never been on at this point.
Fair enough.
But no, I mean when you guys told me it was Madeeh Ur, I was pretty excited because, you know, with rookies you never know what you're gonna get. Like you never know if it's gonna be like a solid matchup or if they're gonna come at you as hard as you want them to. But with Matt, I mean, he knows how this works. I know how this works, so it's gonna be a good like head. I don't know if there's another like veteran battle happening in the standings, but this is one that I was like, if I wasn't in it myself, it would be one I would be hella excited to watch too. So, I mean, hey, it's Madeeh Ur. I mean, I have no problems with Madeeh Ur. He's a fun guy. I'm sure we're gonna have fun, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna try and kick his ass.
I was gonna say to give you that answer, unless I have missed somebody's experience in the battleground, in which case, sorry, not sorry. I don't really know what to say there. You're one of two of our 16 matches in which it's two people who have previously played. The other one we'll get to down the road, but. With that said, I'll drop you to the back for just a second and bring in his competitor. He is literally Mr. TMG. The channel is his. If you don't know what TMG stands for, it stands for Madeeh Ur. How's it going, man?
You know, doing good. Been doing this since, 1938. Currently filling out an ARRP file right now. Hopefully I get through.
Can you do mine as well?
Yeah, I'll fill yours out. But I do appreciate you calling me Fun Madeeh because I don't think I'm fun at all. I mean, I eat oatmeal every day, you know, for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I look at the paint dry. I yell at the kids upstairs because they're running around playing this rap music, which isn't real music at all. You know, let's get back to the Elvis days, man. But no, with all that being said, I'm looking forward to the match. Madeeh is one of the more fun competitors we have in this league, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And remember, Madeeh is not wearing pants, so anytime he's off screen is a good time for him. So, with that said, let's go ahead and bring him back on screen.
On screen is a fun time too. You guys don't have it. You guys don't require hands on screen, right?
No. Not for this one. No, not for this one.
I love it.
It is not required as long as I don't hear typing If I confuse typing for something else, I do apologize in advance.
You won't hear typing. You'll hear something though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just watch out for the camera. If it shakes, then we all know.
I just want to tell
try and aim
YouTube.
away. I do try and like aim to the left,
Sure.
but you know.
Jesus Christ.
Say when you could
I
ask
just-
my dad about being bad at aiming. I mean, he has what, 6
I will
kids?
say, so far I've been performing for.
I just want to tell YouTube, I do mark this is not for kids. If a kid shows up, I apologize.
Yeah.
I want to make
work.
one more point before we start doing anything.
Sure.
I've been performing for about 99 seconds now, and I still don't have an Emmy nomination.
Oh,
True.
I just
oh, you and Don Cheadle are both shocked.
yeah.
Oh,
By the time
okay,
this
let's-
airs, the Emmys will already have happened too. So this is a late joke. But
that will be a late joke.
I will say, depending on how this match goes, the FBI may or may not be watching this video, just having it saved just in case they need proof for evidence.
the FBI has been watching this video since we started airing.
True. Okay, yeah, true.
Oh, fuck's sake. It's going to be one of those. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. This is why I put this at the start of a double build event. If this won't keep you in, what will? So let's go ahead and get into this, guys. So Movie Battleground works this way. There are a max of 5 questions possible. That 5th one we'll get to if we get there. But the first 4 questions were given to the competitors. They were given at least a week to prep, if not a little more. And they are here to play. The way that this will work is each debate consists of 4 stages. They will each get a 1-minute opening to establish their argument. They will get 2 extra minutes then by themselves to flesh out their argument. Then there will be 4 minutes of open debate time, at which point Matt will put the hat down, Madeeh will put the meat down, and they'll really go at each other. And then afterwards, they will get 1 minute to close and wrap up their argument. But I am not doing this alone. I am joined by 2 great judges in the back. It feels weird saying this because of all the sex jokes, but Papa West is in the background, and we are also joined by Chris Diaz. A dad loves nothing more than watching his kids make sex jokes. So they will be here to help me today make all the decisions for this match to keep it fair. And with that said, all that's left, Mr. Beer is the person who was randomly spun for the favorite position. You have the choice of which questions you want to go first on. Would you like to do questions 1 and 3 or questions 2 and 4?
You know, I like to come first, so 1 and 3.
Absolutely.
So do I.
This is going to get really weird when I read this question, but kids' films are a major part of the Hollywood ecosystem. They are one of the few films that have been consistently successful in streaming since the pandemic began. I know that. So let's go ahead and get into it. Question number 1 is, what animated film that currently has no sequel most deserves a sequel, and what would that be? All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. And Mr. Beer, because you elected to go first on this question, I will go ahead and bring your timer up. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts to open when you begin speaking.
All right, so there was a movie that came out in 2010 that was received pretty well overall by critics. Families loved it, you know, just people in general loved it. My dad, who hates animated movies, loved this movie. And for a while, I was expecting, okay, there has to be a sequel. We got to see what happens next. And it just never happened. Well, I'm proposing that Megamind should get a sequel. We are in this superhero phase right now. Everybody's loving these superhero movies. I mean, Endgame for what? A month or 2 was the #1 movie till James Cameron got sad and released Avatar in China. But still, superhero movies, really big. TV shows, really big. So Megamind 2 would be a great movie to bring back for DreamWorks to take advantage of this. It would take place about a year later from the first movie, people getting used to him still being the hero. And I'll get more into it because I realize we're at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Madeeh, 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, so I also kind of picked a superhero animated movie, but mine was one that I actually remembered existed. I'm going with Big Hero 6. So Big Hero 6 was a movie that came out in about 2013, 14, something like that. I'm bad with release dates. You guys know this. Featured a really great cast of characters, all smart in their own way, and had a really compelling story about revenge and loss and things like that. So I want to continue this story couple years afterwards, following the main characters. I can go into it more in the 2 minutes because I don't know how much time I have because the timer's not on screen for mine. I'm not going to argue about that, but that's fine. And essentially, it's just going to see how they progress themselves, as we saw in the post credits or in the credits of Big Hero 6, how they do start saving San Francisco more and more often. I want to see them kind of in full stride of their hero lifestyle, and then something new comes up in their lives, and they kind of have to adjust with that. So it's 5 seconds. You know what? I'm just going to keep saying stuff. I don't even know what I'm going to say, but fuck it.
That seems like a good way to end it. Yeah, sorry. Normally I do bring the timer down, but production reasons meant it got left up because I was looking at other stuff. With that said, I mean, I can leave it up if you want it, Madeeh, on your solo time if you want it.
I mean, Matt got it for his, so I was thinking there was maybe a little bit going on, but nah, fuck. Who cares? I'm just going to talk until someone tells me to shut up anyways.
That's fair enough. All right, Matt, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, so Megamind 2 would take place a year after the first movie ended. Everybody's getting used to Megamind being a hero. Some people don't think that he is a hero. They still think he's a villain. And then, while the world's at peace, Metro City at peace, we get introduced to a new villain played by Benedict Cumberbatch called Sonic Boom. Look, I had a couple days of prep. It's not a great name. Look, they'll come up with a name. But this guy can level cities just with the palm of his hand. He can, like that, and then you have a bunch of the sonic air flying or whatever you want to call it, and it can level buildings and all that good stuff. So it's completely destroyed. Megamind, Minion, they have to try to convince Metro Man to come back out of retirement because he's still into his music phase. And while they're trying to get him to do that, they're introduced to a new hero that is played by, as I scroll up a little bit, he's played by the Crusader. The Crusader is the new hero. He's going to be played by Ryan Gosling. Similar to Metro Man, super powerful, Superman-like character. He was chasing the Sonic Boom because Sonic Boom is his whole target is to go to all these different planets and take their water, crops, things that you would normally need for people to live because his planet is dying and his people need to have crops, water, all that good stuff. So that's why he's chasing them. They end up on Earth, and he ends up teaming up with Megamind and Minion. And everybody's coming back. You got David Cross coming back as Minion. Obviously, Will Ferrell coming back as Megamind. So they go there. They're going to fight in Singapore. There's a big final battle, Singapore, where, you're seeing a whole city get destroyed as, Sonic Boom is trying to take all the water from the Indian Ocean. Everybody's getting their ass kicked. And then we get this really cool, kind of like Snyder Cut introduction of, Metro Man, similar to how Superman was introduced. They end up defeating him. Yay! Metro Man, knows he has to save the day. Can't retire. All the good stuff. I didn't realize that. I had no time. I literally wrote 10 paragraphs of this thing, so I'm trying to okay, let's get all this done.
All right, Madeeh, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, so my story follows Hero and the group about 3 years afterwards. Hero's just about to graduate from the academy. The rest of the team has already graduated from the robotics academy, but they're still working with him. And the hero stuff, they're not necessarily always together as much because they have kind of separated just because everyone's got their own lives going on, especially the older groups. They're all kind of separating out. And then Hero comes across a young prodigy at the Technology Academy by the name of May. Now, May first intrigues him by her intellect. She's also using microbots for a lot of her stuff. And that instantly draws him into a connection because obviously Hero was a huge guy for microbots at the beginning of Big Hero 6. He and Baymax 2.0, or whatever we're calling the new version of Baymax at this point, are still doing their hero stuff, but there's this new villain that kind of came out of nowhere that is using all these different forms of technology to attack the cities, rob banks, steal money, and do all these kind of villainous things, and they're not sure what the motivation is or who this person is in the first place. Hero and May start going out, and they have this kind of really cute, nice relationship, and it's like his first time in a successful relationship at this point, because before it's always been like the hero stuff takes precedence, or I want someone who's at least smart enough to have a conversation with me. Like, he's not that he's above anyone who's a little bit dumber, but it's easier for him to talk to people when they also have a background in robotics. So he's having a great relationship with her, but then he finds out that she's actually the villain. Her whole backstory is explained that she's trying to rob all these banks because there's medical bills and stuff like that that she needs to do, and there's an experimental treatment that her mom needs. So it kind of plays into the same formula of the first one, where it's the villain is doing something for a quote unquote good reason, but he's got to have to fight that in the same way that he's like, all right, this is the girl I like, and I'm really liking her, but also she's doing these bad things. So how do I combat that? Jesus, that is not a long 2 minutes. Fuck.
You think that wasn't long? Try lasting 4 minutes. All right, guys, 4 minutes on the clock. Time starts when the first person speaks. I bet. All right, the time starts when the first person speaks. You guys have 4 minutes.
Matt, I'll let you go first since you had more you wanted to say in the other 2 minutes. I think you're muted though.
I am muted. I was trying to open a pop, and it was making loud noises, so I muted. Sorry, forgive me for my sins. So, here we go. Let's get into it.
We haven't started the 4 minutes. Okay, no.
We have.
No, I haven't. You've killed a minute at a time, but I have not started the 4 minutes.
So, here's the beginning of the movie. I want to introduce you to the whole beginning, and it's going to begin with a heist scene. You know, pretty intense heist scene for a kid's movie. It involves being at a bank, and then Back in Black comes on, plays, Megamind comes in, as well as Minion. They come in, they stop the whole heist. Yay, everybody's celebrating. Like I said, and there's groups of people that think, oh, he's just acting like the good guy. He's truly not a good guy at all. You could call them cults, you know, whatever you want to call them. So, you know, that's how we begin the story. Like I said, Sonic Boom comes in. His whole goal is to take water, crops, things that you need to live so his people can continue to live. He's leveling cities, all that good stuff. I'll let you go next.
Okay, here's my thing with Megamind. I'm gonna like leave Big Hero 6 alone for a bit, but like Megamind, I forgot was a movie until you brought it up in the chat. Like, it was one of those movies, like, I remember watching it the first time, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was fun. It was fine. Will Ferrell as the villain turned hero is cool. Brad Pitt as, what was his name? Metro Man.
Metro Man.
Yeah, like that's fine, and there's, like, a lot of cool twists in it of, like, oh, Copper is my weakness, and then he just kind of leaves. I was more interested in an idea of, like, a more, like, a prequel of them just, like, kind of having fun against each other, both of them like having that respect but not like really doing anything about it. And I just generally forgot that this was a movie, and then when I went back and watched it, it's not that great. Like, it's okay, but it's not something I want to see more of. And the story itself is kind of self-contained where it is. Like, it's him coming to terms that he doesn't have to be bad, and it's basically Wreck-It Ralph except not as good.
So I will say, first off, I don't like the idea of prequels because we know how it's going to end at the end of the day. We know it's going to end. Nothing's going to change. There's no development for all these characters. It just would be plain, you know, whatever.
Are you listening?
The reason why I think we could bring in a sequel, while yes, it may not be as remembered as some of the other DreamWorks movies like Shrek and whatnot, is we can reintroduce this movie to people and also introduce it to new audiences that would absolutely be into this type of humor, because the humor does work for what a lot of, you know, younger people, I'm talking like 7 to 15-year-old people, would enjoy, and that's ultimately what the first one was made for. You would have Will Ferrell, he's starting to appear in more things. David Cross, you know, he hasn't been in the limelight for a while, so it'd be nice to get him back because he's a hilarious man. And we're in the superhero, you know, phase right now. So bringing something like this back, which was around right before it really launched into what we know these superhero movies as today, would be great. With Big Hero 6, we already got a continuation. We got a series. It was 3 seasons long. It was on Disney XD. I think it was 56 episodes or 66 episodes, something like that. So we already know how it's going to continue. Plus, we're getting a series on Disney Plus with Baymax. So
I don't think that's confirmed, is it?
Yeah, they confirmed it at the investor meeting in December. It was that, and Moana, and Zootopia was getting shows. But that tells me that Disney doesn't really feel confident in this property, and they're getting that sense of, well, there's really no point in continuing. Plus, why make something that's already having multi seasons with the Big Hero 6 series when we can have something new or a sequel to something that hasn't been around for a while that really hasn't gotten anything.
I mean, they did. I mean, going to DreamWorks did that with How to Train Your Dragon. They had a series and a bunch of movies come out in sequel, and I think Big Hero 6 should work because it's another one of those diverse animated movies that a lot of kids from, especially Asian countries, can see themselves in and be like, "Yeah, that's me on screen." No one's blue and sees them like, "Yeah, that's me on the screen" when they watch Mega Man or Megamind. Jesus,
And that is going to be time.
there's no copyright on Mega Man, right?
I don't
Well,
know.
that's not the thing that's going to
Capcom
get
or
this
whatever
video
might be
flagged.
No, that's not. That's
Yeah,
not
we're
going to
good.
be the one.
All right, guys. 1 minute on the clock. Matt, you close first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, so to wrap it up, Big Hero 6 has already gotten a continuation, 3 seasons of a show for Big Hero 6. Baymax is getting his own thing on Disney Plus. We're getting a lot of stuff for Big Hero 6 already, and we have for a little bit now. Megamind really hasn't been touched. There is like some home video add-on, where if you bought the first one, you get a little spin-off thing, but really that wasn't really adding anything. Adding a movie or getting a sequel to Megamind would reintroduce Megamind to the audiences. The comedy works perfect. Now it's coming to an era where superhero movies are just really big. You're going to have big actors in this movie: Will Ferrell, and Ryan Gosling, Benedict Cumberbatch. It's going to be a little darker, but that's what sequels should do. It's a fun movie. It's something that people enjoyed, critics, audiences. So why get something that's already had multiple seasons when we get something that hasn't been touched?
And time. All right, we'll go ahead and go to Madeeh. 1 minute to close is on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Megamind doesn't really deserve a sequel because the first one wasn't that good, and there's not really much they can add to that story. The first story is very self-contained, and yeah, it's a superhero thing, but so is Big Hero 6. And Big Hero 6 was a much more enjoyable superhero story. And when you really think about it, the target audience for this is kids, right? Kids are still doing the fist bump, going la 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 la. There's nothing from Megamind that they really looked at and be like, yeah, I want to do that in my day-to-day. I'm not allowed around children most of the time, but the younger cousins and siblings that I do have, if I asked them to pick between Big Hero 6 and Megamind of which one they would want to see more of, they would go with Big Hero 6. The TV show that they have, yeah, sure, it's great, but they do want to experience it on the big screen again. And now that the theaters are opening, I asked them about 3-4 days ago, something like that. If I was to put in front of you Megamind and Big Hero 6, which one would you rather go see? And all of them said Big Hero 6. 5 of them didn't know what Megamind was, and they were like, yeah, I don't really care about that one. Let's go with the one that we know and the one that actually gave us joy when we first saw it.
Look at all these notes I wrote.
And that is time.
I typed mine out on my computer, so I'm like, have it right behind me.
But it's not coming up, but trust me, there's like
it's not
10
clear.
paragraphs.
I see you, man. I see you.
All right,
There's 10
guys.
paragraphs.
I'm gonna drop this love fest to the back as we bring on our judges. Hello, gentlemen. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a minute to make up your decisions if you need to. The only thing to really talk about or correct on the content of both of them brought up follow-ups. Yes, it is true. Megamind only had one short film, which is standard for DreamWorks at the time. They produced a lot of short films for their movies, but no actual sequels ever produced. As for Big Hero 6, obviously we did have the television show created through Disney Animation. There also was the Baymax series that was announced. However, as recently as 2021, it was said that a sequel is not off the table for the film, and the fact that they have had series will not affect it. So taking that out of the judging, the How to Train Your Dragon comparison, actually pretty solid there. With that said, Papa, I'm going to go to you first. In 30 seconds or less, tell me who won and what sold it for you.
Madeeh won. Exactly what you just said, Aaron. The How to Train Your Dragon argument, really good about hitting Matt's counterclaim. And then also just that, hey, Megamind, you have the story of a bad hero, of a bad guy wanting to be good, and we've done the story. Really just solidifying it for me. And also a Canadian making a comment about how bad the U.S. healthcare is. Good on you, Madeeh.
And Mr. Diaz, in 30 seconds or less, who won and why?
So this was a fun fight. I just said we did get a sequel with Kingdom Hearts 3, but I don't even Matt, so I do leave it up to Aaron here. Because that Matt gave me no idea of what the Secret would be, it gave me a lot of detail. Madeeh, most of the time, would trying to combating a lot of his pick and not giving me more about his pick beside the opening stuff. I had to go with the stuff I was given, and I do like Mega Man both because so I had to take
All
it
right.
out.
So it is 1 vote to 1, which does leave the decision up to me. And to make it short and sweet and rip the Band-Aid off, I went with Madeeh. I think they both had great pitches. I think they both had good fight backs. I like that they both had details included in their pitches. But simply put, I think Madeeh had the proper hitbacks he needed as to why his film should and could exist, and that's what won it for me. So with that said, Madeeh will get the first point on the board. Thank you, judges. I will go ahead and drop both of you to the back as I bring back on our competitors. And we will go
Trainer Dragon. I forgot about that.
I didn't even have that in my notes. I just brought it up as soon as you said it was like a DreamWorks thing. I was like, that's a thing that they did, right?
And we will go ahead and move on to question number 2, which is basing off of director Guillermo del Toro. He is a director who has a lot of films that are acclaimed to different levels. There are some people who buy into his artist vision and they love everything he does. There are some people that are a little more mixed, but when you are a filmmaker who has that much critical acclaim, you're bound to have some detesters from it. And so the question is, what is Guillermo del Toro's most overrated film? So that is the question at hand. With that said, Madeeh, you are up first on this one. So as I bring up your timer and disappear, you have a minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So as Aaron said, Guillermo del Toro has a lot of fans who really just enjoy everything he's done, and I'm definitely one of them. I think that every single one of his movies is at least really good, and then bordering on some of them being damn near perfect for me. But the one that is most overrated for me, I have to go with Pacific Rim. I think there's a lot in this movie that is fine, and and obviously there's a lot of people who really enjoy Pacific Rim for what it is. It's kind of more of like a dumb Transformers versus Godzilla kaiju movie. Like you get what you get in that one. There's not really anything in this that I said that this has to be a Guillermo del Toro film. It's more just a lot of like on-screen Christmas lights that you just kind of get distracted by and watch. It's not a great movie. It's just a fun movie to watch and sit back and enjoy. It's a popcorn flick. So that's the pick I went with as my time runs out.
All right. Absolutely. And Matt, your pick is up. 1 minute on the clock to open. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. So this was a very difficult question because Del Toro has made some really good movies that I enjoy very much. But when I was thinking of what is the most overrated movie, I had to go with something that while I enjoy and I think is good, I think it's a little too much praise. And that to me, it's going to be Shape of Water. Now, I enjoy The Shape of Water. Shape of Water's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. However, a lot of people act like it's the greatest movie ever. You know, that's what I was getting when I saw, people coming out of it, when it was coming out and even today. But I watched the movie and it's a good movie. Like, it's a good movie, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. Also, the year one Best Picture, while Del Toro deserves a Best Picture, I don't think this movie should have won it. I would have given it to Call Me By Your Name, Lady Bird, I would have given it to Get Out, Dunkirk, maybe. But I don't think Shape of Water was the best movie that year.
And time. All right, guys, both on the dot for the two of you. You have 2 minutes to flesh out your argument. Madeeh, 2 minutes for you. Time starts when you speak.
Matt, I gotta disagree with you. I don't think this is the best movie ever, but I definitely think this is an absolutely beautiful film, and I think in my opinion, it's his best film that he's done. Shape of Water was such a brilliantly told story, and the fact that, listen, I'm not emotionless, but I'm pretty damn close sometimes. The fact that you got me feeling for a mute woman and a fish creature, and I was shipping them, which is a term that I learned from my younger sister, by the way, and I'm sure I'm using that wrong, but who cares? That tells me that this movie is worth what it is. it did win Best Picture over Call Me by Your Name and Lady Bird, and I think it's well deserved. I think Get Out was probably the one that should have been closest to it, but I still don't think it was a better film than Shape of Water. Going on to Pacific Rim, the reason I picked Pacific Rim as the most overrated is because a lot of people think of it as like, oh, it's his best work because it's what he wanted to do, or it's the vision of Guillermo del Toro at its finest. No, it's just the one with the most budget. That doesn't make it the best film of his. And when you're saying that Shape of Water is overrated, I think when you say that a movie is a really great movie, and you agree that it's a really great movie, I don't think you can call it overrated when it fits into that criteria. I think it definitely should have been at least nominated for Best Picture, and I think we can both agree with that. And I think that's where you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, where you're like, yeah, it's a great movie, so it can't really be overrated if it's in that criteria of Best Picture for that year. Even if you don't think it should have won over some of those other films, it's still in that criterion of being Best Picture for that particular year. Now, you mentioned that it was like a lot of people saying, oh, it's the best movie ever. Maybe I'm running in different circles than you, and I haven't met anybody like that, but everyone I know who's seen it all really enjoy the movie and think it's a great movie. No one's gone out of their way and saying it's the best ever. I do say it's his best as of yet, but that's as far as I would go. I wouldn't call this overrated. I would say it's rated pretty fairly on that point.
And time. Perfect on the dot once again. Matt, 2 minutes for you when you speak.
Always on the dot for me.
So while yes, I probably would have given it a Best Picture nomination, that doesn't mean I think it's a great movie. There's a lot of years, actually pretty much every year, especially recently, where not every movie that's nominated is a great movie per se. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a really good movie, but I don't think it's a great movie. And I definitely don't think it's better than Pan's Labyrinth, which is my favorite of his. With Pacific Rim, nobody thought it was like this awesome movie. Everybody thought it was a dumb, fun movie. I mean, it had 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. The fans were, I think IMDb was 71%. Metacritic was probably around there too, but still, nobody thought this was a great movie per se. It's just a fun movie. The visuals are great in this movie. Are they the greatest visuals in the world? No, but they're still great, especially for that time. This is one of the rare 3D movies that I would have actually paid to go see it in 3D, and I never do that. This was very rare. I thought he did really good when it came to that. I thought the story's good in Shape of Water. It's nothing spectacular or great or anything like that, but it's good. I enjoy it. That's what I expect from Del Toro, to make good stories. The performances outside of like Michael Shannon are good, nothing spectacular. I thought Michael Shannon was really good, but that's about it. And it's nice Del Toro won Best Director. I don't think it should have been for that movie though. Like I said, Pan's Labyrinth definitely should have won a lot of awards for that, but not for Shape of Water. Maybe Jordan Peele. I think Christopher Nolan you could have thrown up there, just the way he told Dunkirk. I thought that was pretty unique too. But really, this is a movie you have to watch when you're wide awake as well, because if you're, not the, time's out. We'll find out.
It is out. All right, guys. 4 minutes on the clock.
Dragon Ball there.
Yeah.
4 minutes on the clock for open debate. Time starts when the first person speaks.
I mean, I gotta hold on 1 second. Sally Hawkins and Richard Jenkins were both really great in this movie too. I want to make sure that they're acknowledged for what they were, because they were great. I thought they were really good. I thought Sally Hawkins could have won Best Actress that year, but I think she lost to I can't even remember who she lost to anymore.
Either.
Who cares? This isn't trivia.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. With Pacific Rim, I think on Rotten Tomatoes you said it had like a 72. That's from the critics.
Somewhere around there.
From the audience scores, which is where most of the people who watched this movie are, it was like around an 80 or something like that, right? Which
I don't know about on Rotten Tomatoes, but usually IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes fan score ends up being about the same, and I think IMDb was around a 7. It wasn't like anything spectacular.
Okay, I went on Rotten Tomatoes last week and it was around 80. I can't remember the exact numbers, but like for it to be an 80 for the audience scores, it's basically just because they're like, oh, this is a dumb movie. We watched it, we really liked it, and it got to an 80%. I'm not entirely sure what the IMDb score is, but basically what that told me was that a lot of people went to this movie and thought, yeah, this is a great movie. It really isn't. The story is kind of just half baked, if we're being real on it. And other than like the whole CGI nonsense that goes on screen, there's really not much to this movie. Idris Elba's phenomenally underused. It's basically just Independence Day, except not as good. That's what the movie is. Like, there's nothing really special about it other than the CGI behind it. There's a lot about this movie that isn't that good, and people kind of just ignore it. And while I think it's okay, like, I don't think it's his best. I think it's his worst movie, and it's just okay. And a lot of people really put it up there as like, oh, it's his most fun, or it's this, or it's that. It's not that great of a movie. It's just fine at best.
Like I said, Pacific Rim, we both agree. It's just a fun movie. It's something you could watch just any day of the week. It's a lot of fun. It's nothing spectacular, but that's what the movie was going for. Del Toro wasn't going for best director or making a best picture. If he did, it would have been different. But still,
I mean, we know that, but the average Joe on the street,
well,
they don't care.
They don't watch a lot of stuff. They watch that.
They don't watch
Garfield.
as much, but they're the ones who are going to the theater, like, and paying for another Transformers movie to come out.
And really, I think if the audience thought this was a great movie, it would have done a lot better at the box office. It didn't really do that great. It had what, $400 million, which is good, but in today's day and age, you know, look at what Venom did, for example, making $800 million or whatever. It's insane. So if the audiences think it's great and just awesome, they would have paid the money to go see that. It did good. You know, it made its money back, but it wasn't anything spectacular. The world building also in Pacific Rim, I will say, while, you know, it's a fun movie that you just go to watch, the world building I thought was pretty solid in this movie, and it really was investing me. And it's Del Toro, he's going to do that. So I was impressed by that, and also the designs of the creatures I thought worked for this movie. It was like Rock'em Sock'em robots on the big screen. You know, when you got to the action sequences, and it was a lot of fun. That's what this movie was going for. The Shape of Water, like I said, everybody was going crazy about this, saying it's the best movie of the year. It's so fantastic, and it's good. It's a good movie. That year wasn't the strongest for movies, so yes, should have been nominated just based on what came out that year, but it wasn't great. You know, it was like that one movie that gets nominated.
I think
That's
it was
a
great.
good movie.
I definitely think it was great. I mean, listen, the fact that I'm not big on rom-coms or like romantic movies in general, but this one was this has been one of the few that I've actually cared and wanted them to like have a happy ending on. Like that's the point where I'm like, you know what? It's
and
worth
that is
going
time.
to see. God damn it, I should have looked at the screen.
It was worth going to see. That was your last sentence. Let that stand. We know what you're doing.
I don't want anyone to like be like, oh, you didn't actually say that word. That's not going to play into that. Fuck it. Who cares?
All right. With that said, we are on to our 1 minute closings. Madeeh, you're up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
The Shape of Water won for Best Director and Best Picture, and it deserved to do so. Not only because necessarily the films were quote-unquote weak that year. We did have Get Out. We did have Lady Bird. We did have Dunkirk all come out, and they're all great films, but I do think Shape of Water was just a tad better than them. The fact that it was able to get me feeling something like that and allowed me to really think that maybe there can be love for a mute woman and a fish man. Whereas Pacific Rim, I came out of that movie and I was like, all right, well, that was basically just Transformers and Independence Day mixed together. And yet somehow people come out raving about it. So much so that we've gotten a sequel and an animated series on Netflix after the fact. And yes, Shape of Water doesn't really need a sequel, but the fact that it became so popular and people loved it so much that it continued and continues to grow, and that there is going to be more coming out of it, just shows that people really think highly of the Pacific Rim franchise. And they continue to go see it. Yeah, it didn't do as well in the box office for the second film, but the Netflix series has done really well, and that just proves that it's been going further and further.
All right. And Matt, you have 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So again, Pacific Rim, just get to that real fast. It did what it was supposed to do. It's just a fun movie you can go and watch. It's Rock'em Sock'em robots with robots and monsters. That's all it was. The world building is really fun. Like I said again, 3D really impressed me, and that's hard to do. You know, the action is a lot of fun to watch. It's just fun. That's what's supposed to be. It did that. Didn't make a whole lot of money, but still, it's fun. people that saw, like, yeah, it was a fun little movie, whatever. Something you can watch on a rainy day, whatever. Shape of Water, people act like it's the greatest thing in the world. It's not. Like I said, Get Out, I think, should have won Best Picture over it. I think you could have thrown in Dunkirk just because of the style. You could have thrown in Call Me By Your Name. These are all movies, like you said, are great and should have been nominated. They were. It wasn't a strong year, the year it came out, whatever. You got to be wide awake to watch this movie or else you're going to fall asleep. And it's not his best movie like people claim to be. It's Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth's my number 2. Just
All right. So that is going to be time. I'll go ahead and drop the timer, and I will drop these two gentlemen to the back as we bring in our judges. So while they make their final decisions, I'll go ahead and rattle off some numbers. A lot of numbers were rattled off by our competitors. For what it's worth, The Shape of Water received a 92% critic rating, 72% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't use IMDb because you technically can leave a review without seeing the movie, so it may be tampered with. You never know. For Pac Rim, it had a 72% critic rating and a 77% audience rating, so it is around that 80% mark Madeeh had. In terms of the Academy Awards, Shape of Water was nominated for 13 awards, being the highest nominated film of that year. It won 4 for Best Production Design, Original to Score, Director, and Picture. Box office, it was only around 20 million. It made just under 200 million, so it was a far and away success for an indie film. Pacific Rim, vice versa, did not receive 1 Academy Award, including for its visual effects. At about $190 million budget, it grossed just over 400, meaning it did turn a profit. Its sequel, meanwhile, most likely failed, costing them about 160 million, only making 290. So when you do the math, it probably failed. Pan's Labyrinth was also brought up a lot for the fact in Rotten Tomatoes, it received a 95% critic rating and 91% audience-like rating. So generally speaking, it is more liked. And it received, if I can count correctly, 6 Academy Award nominations, winning 3 for makeup, cinematography, and art direction. It did not win its 2 major awards, however. And also because Venom was brought up, that movie did make an insane amount of money, grossing $856 million on about $100 million budget, and had an 81% like rating on Rotten Tomatoes from audiences. Critics fucking hated it. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our judges. Mr. Diaz, you're up first in 30 seconds or less. Tell me who won it for you and what was the point that sold you.
So just for fun, wanted to keep it short and Madeeh. He told me more why the movie was overrated. It just became a argument semantic to me, like who would want more, who the critics didn't hear much about the film, why they were overrated, but Madeeh painted more picture why Pacific Rim were overrated. Not the work Guillermo did, so I couldn't repeat work, but Madeeh won me over it.
All right, and Papa, I go to you in 30 seconds or less. Who won it and why?
I am in the same boat with Madeeh. Pretty much the exact same thing as Chris said. Matt was really bringing up, Pac Rim did exactly what it was supposed to. It wasn't a Best Picture nominated film. It wasn't made to be a Best Picture nominated film, but didn't really go into why it was overrated. And then Madeeh really sold it with bringing up the sequel and then also the Netflix animated series. And $411 million is a lot of money. I wouldn't consider that a bomb by any means, although it will buy a bomb. Maybe. I have not researched prices of bombs.
There's a lot of math involved. I usually do it for After Dark, but it was a little difficult to do it in the moment. But it most likely turned a profit. Its sequel probably failed. But with that said, guys, thank you so much. That means with that, Madeeh will get the second point on those 2 votes. And we'll go ahead and drop our great judges to the back and bring back Mr. Beer and Mr. Madeeh. And with that said, we are moving on to a round that I'm sure both our competitors are intensely excited for.
Oh, yeah.
Can we skip question 3? Like, Matt, if you're cool with it, can we just skip it? I don't want to talk about this.
Well, I watch these movies. I have to have a reason to watch them.
God. Like, it physically hurts. I don't even know what it is. It physically hurts.
All right, you know what I'll do? This is for, I'm going to leave this in. This is for the audience. So being completely transparent, and I've already said this publicly, originally this match was supposed to be against Matty Graham. For personal reasons, he wasn't able to participate in the tournament, so Matt took his slot in general, meaning, he kind of took on his questions as well.
Yeah.
I will do a first and only option on Battleground ever because of the situation we are in and because this was a direct strength question selected by Maddie. not by Matt because of the time he
Yeah.
came into the match. If you both agree, we will do question 4 as question 3. If Matt wins and it's not a knockout, we will come back to this question.
I would prefer to do this question because I had to watch these movies.
Okay, so we're
there's
doing
one
it.
specifically. I have to do this because of that movie. If I had to watch that movie, I have to have it for
The sacrifice needs to mean something. There has to be a reason.
Has to mean
I'll
something.
give it to you.
All right. So
Oh,
speaking
man.
of has to mean something, and this in no way should I say, because Maddie did select this as his strength. This is in no way shitting on anyone's taste. I think we've made it clear.
Not yet.
Plenty of people.
Just wait. Not yet.
Wait.
I think we've made it clear that plenty of people love plenty of things over the history of the shows done on this channel, including tonight. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into the question. Let's not kill any more time. What is the best Rob Zombie movie? Both of these men look like they want to shoot themselves, but this is what they were given, and this is what they did. Boys, argue it the best you can. With that said, Matt, you are up first on this question, so I will bring your timer up. Time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, strap in for this fun debate as we talk about the best Rob Zombie movie, the best director. I don't know. So,
also
full
in a
disclosure,
metal band.
I watched these movies yesterday, just back to back, watched them all, and I'm so glad I went with this movie because it genuinely surprised me with how good it was, and it is The Devil's Rejects. Is it a great movie? No, it's not a great movie, but that doesn't matter, okay? Rob Zombie is a terrible director, doesn't make good movies at all. This movie was actually good. For Rob Zombie, it's a masterpiece. It opens up with a really fun action sequence, which really caught me off guard with the type of movie this was. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It really made me think, oh, an actual director directed this movie. I thought Bill Moseley and Sherry Zombie were perfect in their roles because they were able to capture that insaneness but yet terrifying type of performances.
And time. Madeeh, before you autoerotic asphyxiate yourself on camera, I will have you do your opening. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Matt, you don't believe anything you just said.
I believe it, man.
I can see it in your eyes. You don't
I believe it.
You're
I
dead
believe
inside
it.
if you think either of these movies are good.
I clicked the wrong button. Just go. We get it. Neither of you like this director. Just sell it.
No. This director I put in the same category as Uwe Boll. I'm not sure why he's around. I'm not sure what started this. I don't know why it hasn't ended. But it was close to ending me. And that's not that's as best as I can put it. The movie I said that was his best, and I put in quotations around best, is his Halloween 2007 remake of the original. The only reason is the original Halloween was really good. Okay, there's no doubt about that. This one is basically a remake that adds a couple things, and that's it. What I will say is he does do. I will say this to give him credit. He does give a lot to Michael Myers as a character. He gives him a backstory. He gives him more because in the original you kind of just see him as like, oh, why is he like this? What's going on? In this one, you kind of see how he became the Michael Myers that we all know and quote unquote love. But
and that is time.
I laughed because Aaron just like jumped in. I wasn't trying to laugh at all. Oh God.
Oh God, this is gonna be a round, boys and girls. Here we go. Matt, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. So what a first round, guys. So one of the things that made the original Halloween as good as it was, an aspect of it anyway, was the fact that we truly didn't know who Michael Myers was. We don't even see him as a kid. I love that with, just the opening shot of him as a child. It's from his point of view. And this movie spends literally 38 minutes and 43 seconds with baby Michael Myers. We don't need that because it completely took away from what, an aspect that made the original great. And it really hurt the film because it wasn't just like, okay, this is kind of interesting. It was boring. It was a boring 38 minutes, 43 seconds. I was dozing off at like 2 in the afternoon because of how boring this was. But with The Devil's Rejects, okay, it actually feels like it's made by a real director, not by some guy who's inspiring to be a director that clearly is in film school. It actually feels like he's doing a decent job. Is it the greatest movie of all time? No, it's not. But it's a fun little movie. That's all it is. You know, the violence, it doesn't really feel pointless, which is rare in a Rob Zombie movie. The violence actually kind of fits, and it doesn't get too bloody unless it needs to be too bloody, and that is to kind of show or at least have a bigger impact on the action that's happening. Like I said, you know, Sherry Zombie and Bill Moseley, they're able to capture that like insane, but yet they can be terrifying with a flip of the switch type of performance. Also, I thought a guy who was great in the movie, Sid Haig, he's perfect, you know, as Captain Spaulding, fits the role perfectly because he too can just flip it with, you know, with a flip of the switch. He can go from this funny kind of weird guy to this absolute terrifying person that makes you pee your pants. Time, as Aaron would say. Now we're gonna go to Madeeh.
I am muted. Madeeh, 2 minutes on this is a shit show. 2 minutes on the clock for you if you can make it. This is the point where I will remind you you can acquiesce your time if you feel there is no more to say. But with that said, time starts when you begin speaking.
You know, I'm half tempted to just concede my time right now, but for the sake of this argument, listen. The thing with Devil's Rejects is it is a terrible movie. It is absolutely awful. When you make a movie, you want to have someone that you can kind of relate to or someone that you want to cheer for. There's no one in this movie that you do that with. Sid Haig, yeah, sure, he's, I'll say good for the sake of, I don't even know what, as this Mr. Spaulding, sorry. But his whole family are just a bunch of insane, unhinged, sadistic psychopaths. The cop that's chasing them is a dick who's more of a vigilante than a good person. The victims are just victims. They're there to die and to be stripped and to be told to suck someone's dick on screen because that was necessary for me to watch. Basically, this whole movie just seems like an excuse for Rob Zombie to put his weird, twisted fantasies on screen. And it hinges on this like ridiculous family that even Vin Diesel would say, nah, that's not good. Like, I know those memes are everywhere right now. They hopefully won't be in August when this comes out. But god damn it, Vin Diesel would look at this movie and be like, no, that's not family. That's not the right way to do it. But for some reason, the movie's like, this family sticks together, so they're cool. No, one of them rips another dude's face off and then makes a girl wear it on her own face. Like, it's... There's so much twisted bullshit in this that you're just like, when is it? It's unrelenting, and it doesn't let you have any moments to breathe and just take in the fact that you're watching someone believe that they're making Bonnie and Clyde, where they're actually just throwing an actual pile of shit on camera and saying, this is a movie now, and you're going to watch it.
And that will be time. All right, guys, 4 minutes of open debate is up next. I'm going to leave the timer on the screen. If you run out of things to say, just tell me. Believe it or not, it's not the first time we've done that on this show yet. But with that said, time starts when someone speaks.
Is there a woman in Devil's Rejects who doesn't show her like entire body nude at some point in this movie? Like, I'm trying to think.
I don't know, but I could say the same thing about Halloween. Everybody practically gets naked in every Rob Zombie
movie. This guy
movie.
is not good as a director. I will say this about Halloween. Not good. You thought that the first 37 minutes were boring. I thought it was not boring. I thought it was intriguing of how he approached Michael Myers as a character. Because, I mean, they're kind of rebooting it now where it's only the original and then the most recent one that came out and then the one that's coming out this year. I think it's this year. That are like their canon ones. But I think this one really went into like the psychology of someone like Michael Myers really well. In that 38 minutes. It didn't do well with Laurie Strode, but I think it kind of made up for that with how they treated Michael as a main character, as a horror character.
So first off, it's 38 minutes and 43 seconds. That's very important. Okay, that's
it is
very
yes,
important.
very
That
important.
minute 43 seconds has to be included. But again, something that made Halloween as special as it is the fact that we don't know who this man is. We don't know anything about him, and then they just go into this like weird whole, oh yeah, you know, he kills these animals. His dad's, you know, or stepdad or whatever is an abusive dick. You know, his sister's, you know, a bitch, and his mom. For some reason, even though spoilers, guys, I know you guys really don't want us to spoil Halloween by Rob Zombie. Even though we see Michael Myers kill, you know, his, you know, stepdad or whatever, his,
and his
sister,
yeah.
his mom, for some reason, is like, oh, you know what? I was sad that day, but I like you. And then, you know, you would think, oh, something like that, if she was going to be suicidal, it would have been that. But him stabbing some like nurse or whatever, that's what did it, not the daughter or whatever. It was this weird thing where it's like, oh, we still care, all this stuff. But really, no, nobody would. You know, it's like, get out of here, Michael. But we get 38 minutes of that, and it's just boring. It doesn't really add anything good to the Halloween franchise. That's why, you know, with them rebooting this whole thing, they didn't go into the whole Michael Myers. What was he like as a kid? Because nobody cared about that. Everybody hated that whole thing. With the Devil's Rejects, again, opens up fun action sequence. Really surprised me by how much I enjoyed that action sequence. I thought Sherry Zombie, Bill Moseley, for what the characters were.
Did you watch Halloween first, or did you watch Devil's Rejects first?
Time blends. I think I watched Devil's Rejects first, and then I ended it with Halloween because I was dozing off. But still, opens up fun action sequence. Enjoyed it, and then, like I said, Sherry Zombie, Bill Moseley really fit those roles, just going crazy as Baby and Otis. I love Sid Haig in this movie. It feels like it's actually made by a director.
I think another issue with that movie is it should have been made in the 70s, and then it should have been forgotten in the 70s. Like Sid Haig and like a lot of the other guys, who's is it Frank Lawrence plays his brother, I think, or something like that.
I don't think so.
Or no, Jeffrey Lewis.
Yeah.
All of those guys are like 70s actors, and they should have stayed in the 70s. Like they really should have. This was nothing for their careers. I thought that the one character I was like, oh, maybe this will be interesting is William Forsythe's sheriff. But even he was just like another version of them, just on the other side of the law, technically. The whole, it's 90 minutes of like just sadistic assholes chopping people up, and it's not something that's engaging. And they try to be funny, but it's not. It's just
at least it's not 2 hours.
That's like the Halloween. One positive I can say.
That is
not
time.
2 hours.
That is going to be time. All right. One more minute of this torturous round for you. Matt, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I'm shocked we went through the whole 4 minutes.
We made it so far. Good. Congrats, Matt. We're doing good.
We both deserve a W here. We're both going to advance. But just to wrap things up, to get into William Forsythe, or however you say his last name, to me, while, yeah, he was a dick and whole thing, just him getting crazier and crazier just with this whole, you know, family and whatnot with all the horrible things they're doing, I kind of bought that. I was like, okay, I can believe that he's getting crazier and crazier. Is this thing a masterpiece? No. It's a lot of fun, and like you said, it does feel like it's from the 70s, and, you know, that's what Rob Zombie looked like he was going for, and I don't think that's a problem at all. Halloween is 2 hours when it shouldn't have been 2 hours. You could have cut out literally 28 minutes or 30 minutes of that opening and had the, you know, same impact, and it would have improved the movie. But no, they want to include that. And one of the biggest sins you can do when making a Halloween movie, even with the horrible movies, is make it boring. There's horrible Halloween movies that aren't boring. This one is boring. I literally was dozing off. There's nothing good about this movie at all.
And time. All right. Madeeh, 1 minute left on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Hang on, I gotta psych myself up that I can make it one more minute. This is a lot. Oh my god. Okay, here we go. So, I mean, Matt, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because the fact that that Devil's Rejects is only 90 minutes is the best part of the movie. It's the only thing that's good about it, is that it was over in 90 minutes, and that as soon as it was over, I was able to lie down and just say, "This is it. This is done. I survived." Halloween, though, it does have some moments that are actually positive about it. I think I disagree with you. I think that some of the first 38 minutes, 47 seconds, or whatever the number was actually quite intriguing. I thought it was interesting. And this was like 30 years after the original came out, so I'm glad that we got a little bit of what Rob Zombie's idea of a backstory was. I also think that Malcolm McDowell was really good in this as he's like a psychologist for Dr. Loomis. His performance in this is actually really well done, and he does play this movie for what it is, and he's really good in this role.
And time. All right, gentlemen. You both made it through. Well done to the two of you. I will drop.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it, Matt?
Look,
was it fucking worth it?
I genuinely enjoy Devil's Rejects.
You're a sick, twisted man.
Yes, I am.
And with that, we will go to the back as I bring in our two judges. All right, while they make up their final decisions, I have a couple of numbers for you. Needless to say, I could talk about specific Rotten Tomatoes scores, but let's put it this way. Rob Zombie has never had a positive critical film. Maybe The Munsters will be his first one. The other one that I have for you guys is you both harped on the run times a lot. It should be said that The Devil's Rejects is 109 minutes and Halloween is 110 minutes. So not only were neither of you correct, they are only 1 minute apart from each other. They are the same length, basically.
At least they didn't go with Halloween 2. Now,
so, with all that said, Papa, we go to you first in 30 seconds or less. Tell me who won it for you and what was the point. Not you, Chris.
I have two things I want to say. First off, Maddie G is like my best friend in this community. You have a horrible taste in movies. Rob Zombie sucks. And then second off, Madeeh made the comment about how he didn't like The Devil's Rejects because he cannot relate to any of the characters. Who do you relate to in Halloween? But anyways, I am giving my point to Matt. He really just did a better job of solidifying the full movie. He talked about the opening, talked about the characters. Madeeh did have a really good close. I wish he would have brought it more into the 4 minute back and forth.
Gotcha. And Chris, I've already seen your board, so make it quick, please. Who's your point going to?
Yeah, man, that's a real fun argument. Just be happy you didn't have to argue Halloween 2 with first, but yeah, Rob Zombie, awful. Yeah.
All right. So I think the thing we all took away from this is nobody likes Rob Zombie. Go ahead and send our judges to the back. Thank you, guys.
How is it only a minute longer? That's what you're telling me. Only an hour of it is in present time for that movie.
Yeah, it's a minute longer.
Maddie G, we love you.
Yeah, we love you, Maddie.
Why the fuck, man? What do you put yourself through?
I had to watch both of these shitfest films because I did not like Devil's Rejects.
I did not like it. I watched Devil's Rejects and I sat down and I contemplated my life and I was like, is this worth it? Nothing can be worth this.
I mean, it's a better movie. I mean,
is it though?
Like it's Rob Zombie. It's slightly better.
I thought I imposed ill will on people.
To answer Jacob, I slightly relate to Laurie Strode at this much of a level.
He's giving you a thumbs up.
That I appreciate it. Honestly, that's the only thing I can say about Halloween.
Oh Christ! All right, well,
I feel like throwing up.
Do we need to take a break for physical reasons? Or
listen, okay, I quit drinking a long time ago, and these fucking movies almost pushed me back to the edge.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. This match,
art according to Rob Zombie. That's why when his stuff is NC-17, he gets so upset. People don't want to watch good movies anymore. They just
want to watch good movies. They don't want to watch shit boxes of whatever Rob Zombie puts out.
Huey Bowl in horror films.
All right.
Literally.
All right. Speaking of downward spirals and shit
Oh, yeah.
films, what is the best twist in an M. Night Shyamalan movie? Let's just get
fuck,
right
man.
into it. For what it's worth, I don't think either of these films are actually shit. Thank God. He had
Thank
two
the
to
Lord.
talk about.
No, they're not.
But
Like, get it out of the way. They're both really good films.
let's go ahead and get into it. Madeeh, you are up first on this one, so I will bring up your timer. Time starts when you begin speaking. If you do hurl, I will pause the clock.
I actually have a headache. That's not even like a joke. I'm legitimately like,
Oh god.
I need like an Advil or something. Jesus.
Movie Battleground, bringing pain and pleasure to people everywhere.
Well, the pleasure was before we started. Okay, so best twist in M. Night Shyamalan movie. There's a clearer cut answer, and there's a reason it's clear cut, but I'll get into that more later. It's The Sixth Sense. I guess general spoiler alert for people if you haven't seen either of these movies. It's been out for 20 years, but who cares? The twist I'm talking about is how Bruce Willis was actually dead for majority of the movie. Throughout the movie, you see him communicating with wow, I'm blanking on his name. That fucking Rob Zombie question wiped me out. You see him talking to Haley Joel Osment and having communication with him as a child psychologist, which is what he was before, talking to him, trying to help him. No one else really interacts with him, but it's not filmed in a way or shown in a way that it makes it weird. He's trying to talk to his wife, and they're on the end, and it looks like they're separated. But then at the end, you realize that he's been dead the entire time. And it's such a brilliant twist, and it plays so well to the movie that it's still held up to this day. When this movie came out in like '99, that it's still considered one of the iconic twists that M. Night Shyamalan's ever done.
Absolutely, and it should be said
that felt good to get back into the into something positive.
It should be said for anyone worried about twists, one of these movies is 6 years old and the other is a lot fucking older. So, sorry guys. Honestly, if you got this far in life not knowing Bruce Willis was dead in The Sixth Sense, you are probably not a movie fan. Like, The Visit I could see, but at this point, if you didn't see it, maybe the spoiler
alert for what Matt's choice.
Oh yeah, fuck. Who cares, Matt? Go ahead. I don't.
So, fun fact: going Lady in the Water this time. No. So it's not Lady in the Water.
Seconds.
It's not.
The biggest twist in an M. Night Shyamalan movie was when Last Airbender wasn't a good movie.
I know, right?
That should have been the option I picked. Now that I think about it.
I think the biggest twist was M. Night Shyamalan thinking he was the greatest thing in the world and making himself a character in Lady in the Water. He's the greatest director ever.
Blame Time Magazine's headline of the next Spielberg after one fucking movie. Blame that.
See what Spielberg's done recently? He can be the next Spielberg if he really wants to.
All right, Matt, go.
The Visit. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with The Visit. So I would argue, while yes, I think that the twist in The Sixth Sense is a good twist. To me, the reason why I'm going to go with The Visit, as you can see on screen, with the grandparents actually not being the real grandparents for the kids that we see in this whole movie, the reason why is because it completely changes the entire film, because you can watch Sixth Sense and it's still pretty much the same movie. Yeah, he's dead. It's just me. Madeeh left because he knew that my answer was better. But the reason why I'm going to go, and should I pause, Aaron?
No, finish up.
Okay,
let's go.
We're going to end
I'll give you a few seconds.
Madeeh, you're hopping in. I did nothing at all, said nothing at all, but it changes the whole movie as far as the characters and whatnot, how they act. And it says
5 seconds. Go. Say one more sentence.
5 seconds. The twist doesn't change, or the twist changes how. Fuck it. Timeout.
Okay, that's a sentence.
Sorry, man. I don't even know what happened. My app just crashed. I thought it was like my battery died or something, but it's like, fuck it. Who cares?
Madeeh, that's what happens when you run porn while streaming simultaneously.
You know what it was? Right? My phone heard me talking about Rob Zombie. I was like, I don't want to deal with this.
You literally killed your phone.
Rob Zombie.
Sherry Zombie walked in.
The same way he killed my hope for filmmakers in the horror genre.
Madeeh, talk about Bruce Willis and children for 2 minutes.
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about one of those things, but I'm going to do my best. Here's the thing. The Sixth Sense, the twist in it does change the entire movie. It's kind of hard to watch The Sixth Sense without having been spoiled over the past 20 years. And there's a reason for that. It's because of how iconic the twist is. When you find out that he's dead and then you rewatch the movie and you see all these moments that you're like, oh, he's actually not even there. Like, he's just a ghost or a spirit, whatever they want to call it. My issue with The Visit is I still think it's a good twist. I just think that throughout the movie, there's already a lot of like, all right, these old people are a little messed up. There's something going on. They're a little out of the loop, something like that. Them not being the real grandparents and being mental patients instead, it's not like it didn't hit me in as much. Like, there wasn't a moment in that twist where I was like, oh shit, or like I was taken aback. I kind of figured it was going to be something weird with the grandparents going into it. Whereas with The Sixth Sense, you watch that movie the first time, if you're unspoiled, which congratulations for that one. You watch it and you watch the entire movie and you're like, all right, yeah, he's having trouble. And you completely buy that he's alive. And then you watch it at the end and you realize that he's been dead. And then it plays back into that line, that famous line that they don't even know that they're dead. It's such a brilliant use of editing and like filming of like how every single moment, every single turn, Bruce Willis is trying to interact with people, but just doesn't really get it. And no one seems to notice him, but it's, it's just kind of that, and it plays into it. And you don't notice a lot of these intricacies until you watch it a second time or a third time or a fourth time, whatever it is. 1999, this movie came out, and even to this day, we still consider this to be one of the best twists, not only in his filmography, but in film in general. And there's a reason for that. The Visit, though it's a good twist, it's not as gut-wrenching. It doesn't do anything to your watching of the movie. It's just like, oh, they're not the same people.
And that is going to be time. Matt, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I will say that I disagree that this doesn't really change anything in the movie. It adds a whole nother plot point of, oh, shoot, these aren't their actual grandparents. They actually, they might actually kill these kids or hurt them or do some really bad stuff to these people or to these kids. It changes, it adds another plot point in there. With The Sixth Sense, you can, if you're, watching a movie, you can kind of see little hints that, okay, yeah, that's the case. When Bruce Willis is sitting down, you can notice these things. And also, this is a twist that really, like, when you're watching it for the first time today, there's almost no twist because you already know that that Bruce Willis is dead. With the grandparents, this is something that you watch the movie, and yeah, they're a little weird, but you don't think that, these aren't the grandparents. You don't see this coming no matter what. So it does change the movie completely when you watch it, because if you watch this movie again, now you have that thought in your mind, and it adds even more to it just based on how the grandparents are acting and all that stuff. And it really does change positively how enjoyable this movie is. Once you know the twist in The Sixth Sense, it does take away from the movie. When you find out this twist, it does. And I'm not saying like it takes it away as in like, oh, it makes this movie bad. It's still a good movie. But, you already know, so there's really nothing like crazy to watch for when you see this movie. It's just another drama that M. Night Shyamalan did when he was on his hot streak. This movie, like I said, once you find out that the grandparents are not the grandparents, it changes everything, and it really adds more layers to it when you watch it a second time, and so on and so forth. I'm going to concede my time.
Fair enough. Madeeh, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Man, I disagree with a lot of what you said. I think that you already kind of know that the grandparents are psychotic, so you already think that maybe they're going to hurt the kids. It's not. There's no point in there where like, oh, what they're their grandparents. Obviously, they're not going to hurt the kids. You go into that whole idea.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Did I was like,
wait.
Did I not already have 2 minutes?
I was like, did he already do his 2 minutes?
I got confused.
My
did
my bad.
minutes, right?
My bad.
What a twist!
My bad. That was a. This match has been a shit show anyway. I'm gonna leave this in. I'm not editing that out. All right, 4 minutes on the clock. Somebody will catch me in the comments. They'll get there. 4 minutes on the clock. Time starts when somebody speaks.
I'm just gonna start and like say what I said just now.
Yeah,
like
I'll say just go.
Yeah, like I'll use that 15 seconds or whatever the hell it was. But like you go into the movie and they're like, oh well, I haven't talked to them. The kids have never met him. The boy's a rapper for some reason. But you go into that room and the grandparents are a little bit off, but they're like, oh yeah, we have some mental issues. She's been getting sick or dementia or whatever they call it, or sundowning they call it. So you already know that there's something not entirely there with them. So at that point, I was always like, all right, yeah, there's going to be something that goes crazy. Like there's going to be something wrong. There's going to be something like this. There's no point where I'm like, oh, well, even though they're potentially losing their minds or like they're forgetting things, that's not going to affect whether they attack their grandkids or not. Them not being the grandparents, yeah, it's a good twist. But it wasn't like a point where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it was completely serious. They were going to try and kill them. I realized it was serious like way earlier in the movie when they were playing hide and seek and she did that weird crawl under the house.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, like hysterical is one word for it, but like that was the point where I was like, yeah, this old woman's batshit crazy. Like she's off her fucking rocker, full out. Like there's nothing stopping her from like actually hurting these kids if she really went and did it. Her not being the grandmother wasn't going to change that, and I think to kind of combat what you were saying about The Sixth Sense, it's hard going into it without having it spoiled at this point, right? But if you're considering going like someone who was like in 1999 or 2000 or whatever, before the internet really blew up and like the movie had just come out, this twist was the biggest fucking thing that had happened that year. Like, and it hasn't been matched since. Like, The Viz is a good twist, but Unbreakable has a better twist. Even The Village, which isn't that great of a movie, has a better twist, in my opinion. But Sixth Sense just clears it out of the water, man.
So, well, come on, not The Village, man, come on. But
Look,
anyway,
I'm just saying, like, it's a shocker to the system of like how you view the movie. This one, it doesn't really affect the movie. It's just like, oh, they're not actually the grandparents. The movie's still creepy and it's still good, but them not being the grandparents doesn't affect the watching of it.
It does, because it does add another whole plot of, oh wait, they're not actually the grandparents. Okay, they're clearly mentally insane. What's going to happen? Now we don't know, because maybe
they're mentally insane as the movie goes along, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's something off with them.
They fully admit to it. They're like, oh, she's sundowning. I got like some weird white thing in the forest or whatever the hell it was.
Well, that there's something off with them and they're mentally insane. But before the twist goes in, you don't think of, oh, well, they're probably not the actual grandparents. When you find that out, even that will shock you. And like you said, it was a good twist, and I agree. Both of these twists are good, but with this movie, it does add to it, because now knowing they're mentally insane and knowing that they're not the grandparents, you truly don't know what's going to happen when you watch for the first time. What are they going to do with the kids? Because you never know. They might snap and, they could kill the kids, or they could just be like, whatever, do whatever you want. But when you find it out, even though there's some off about the grandparents, it does have an added shock value. When you watch The Sixth Sense, though, once you find out the twist, if you're watching it for the first time and you have no idea what the twist is, it does kind of take some of the enjoyment when you watch it a second and third time, because while it's still a good movie, even before you know what the twist is, that's kind of what you were going into if you were seeing it, let's say, on a Saturday or Sunday. There's going to be some twist, and then you see it's like, okay. And then the movie just becomes a fine, decent old movie. But with The Visit, it adds another whole layer. And then when you watch it again, it just adds more to the insanity of the grandparents.
See, I think that when you watch The Sixth Sense again afterwards, you start noticing those little things that M. Night put in there that hints that he's dead. And that's where I think that a lot of the genius of his filmmaking came in. Yeah. Ignore the last 10 words or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know.
At this point, I don't think we can be semantics for the rules.
Wow.
Not with this one, we can't. All right, guys. 1 minute on the clock. Madeeh, you close first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Matt, you said a lot about how this affects the movie and doesn't make it as enjoyable. I say that it makes it twice as enjoyable. When you go back and watch this movie a second time, kind of like Inception, kind of like a lot of those other movies where you realize something at the end, it really affects how you watch the movie overall. You notice the little intricacies of him at the dinner table not getting the receipt first, or how he's sitting across from the mom and they're just kind of silent. And yeah, it could have just been an awkward silence, but no, it's because he's not actually there. There's a lot of things in that movie that you don't notice until you watch it a second time. And the genius of that movie is that you continue watching it and you continue noticing new things about it. And it's a great movie the first time you watch it, but it's still a great movie the second time. The twist, it doesn't take away from it, but it does increase your viewing and allows you to think more about like other ways that they tried to add into it. And that's kind of the beauty of that twist, is that you have so much put into that moment that you're like, now I have to see other things of how it affected and what this happened and how this happened
And time.
whether the kid even knew in the first place.
All right, and Beer, last minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, so once again, if you're paying attention to Bruce Willis, you don't know the twist at all, you can kind of catch it just based on how Bruce Willis acts in the movie. Hi, Chris Diaz. So you can pretty much catch, what the twist is right away. With The Visit, yeah, the grandparents are, insane, mentally and all that good stuff. But you don't have any indication that these aren't the actual grandparents at all. When you find that out, it adds another plot point to the story. It changes everything. It makes it scarier even, because you just simply don't know what's going to happen. And then when you watch that second time, it does add more to the story, because now you're like, okay, yeah, this is even creepier to watch a second time. After knowing the twist again in Sixth Sense, not as great, still a good movie, enjoy it, but it does take away from the enjoyment of the movie, and the twist doesn't change how the behaviors of the characters and all that good stuff, while The Visit does.
And that is going to be a time. All right, guys, once again, another really good fight that time. I think it helps you both actually like the topic and the person in question.
Yeah.
That does do a lot.
It was like a good, way to wash it down.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So wash it down some more in the back. I'll drop you there and bring on our judges. And they both look ready to go. So with that said, Mr. Diaz, in 30 seconds or less, tell me who won it for you and what point sold it.
Yeah, just to quick and easy on Madeeh won this for me. He pointed out everything. Kind of took Matt down a lot of time with the argument, and he pointed out how to then put up today that still twist that take you by surprise. And I like how he defended Matt saying, you pointed it out, but just then how it worked today. And when you go back, we watch first the Madeeh one for me. Fine.
All right, so that's one vote to Madeeh. Papa, Matt, or Madeeh, who does your vote go to and why in 30 seconds or less?
You're both incorrect. The best twist is The Happening. Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel were, in fact, there to steal that old woman's things. I am giving this one to Matt. I really enjoyed this argument. I just think he did a better job of really attacking Madeeh's answer. They both did a great job of explaining their answer. I just think Matt did a better job of countering Madeeh. Whereas, yes.
Fair enough. And so with that said, I think they both did a great job. This is probably one of the harder questions I've ever written, just because I think arguing the intricacies of a twist in a film is more difficult than a film itself. That said, one of these was the most obvious choice you could pick, and I think even for that, he argued it really, really, really well. And for that, I am going to have to go with Madeeh. And so, gentlemen, as I drop you to the back, with that said, and your winner by a score of 3-1, Madeeh Ur Rehman takes the victory, proving once and for all that no pants is the way to go. Madeeh,
always.
After an experience that was, what are your thoughts, man, on the victory?
I never want to watch a Rob Zombie movie again. You can't make me. You can't force it on me. I will die before I watch another one of his goddamn films. I want to give credit to Matt, though, because we were talking off screen, but Matt is really a hell of a competitor and brought the hell out of this match. Like, he kind of came in a little bit late, so, you got to give him credit for taking in the answers as they were, but still, there's a reason that he's a vet and he knows what he's doing. So I'm glad that we had this opportunity to go up against. I think we faced each other before in something. I don't know if it was this or in trivia or something, but I remember facing off against Matt before, and I don't remember how it ended, but I'm glad that we got to do it again because he fucking brings it. And, if it had to be one of us, I'm glad it's me for selfish reasons. But at the same time, Matt could have been in the second round and even further if it was anyone else. So
Absolutely, yeah. And so, as with everybody who's playing in these initial matches, you, sir, do not get to escape the battleground just yet. Everybody's going into a bracket for the tournament, and your bracket for the tournament means your next competitor in our 1-0 bracket will be against Ryan Permison, who won against Andy
Ooh.
Sweet in a sudden death match opening week. What
that's
are
gonna
your?
be
You
fun.
seem like you know him, so what are your
I
thoughts
love
about playing
Ryan.
Ryan?
Listen, I love Ryan. He introduced me to a group called Pathfinders, which is a great group. But Ryan and I, you know what? This is going to be fun. I really am excited to see what kind of questions we go in because we've had small debates like off camera on stuff that we've been on together. But this is going to be a fun one. There's a question I'm hoping that we get to discuss. Probably not going to happen, but it's one of those things where Ryan's seen a hell of a lot of movies and he knows his shit. So I'm really glad that he's the one I'm going up against because I don't want to go up against someone like easy. You know what I mean? Like it'll be kind of boring, and Ryan is for sure going to bring it. So let's do this.
Absolutely, man. Well, great victory. I will leave you to what you do off camera. We will see you next time on the battleground. Take care, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, and joining me on screen is our resident Colts fan, Mr. Madeeh Ur. And yes, as we said earlier, it should be commended, and I said this in our kind of match assignment videos that were released a couple months ago now before we started airing, but Maddie's dropout was a bit last minute. It was already while we were into the pre-production on the match. The reason Matt is here is because he was the first person I felt comfortable reaching out to. If I was going to put anybody in a shit situation, I'd rather it be on the channel. It just looks less fishy. And Matt took it with no hesitation, and he prepped the best he could in a few days and did a really great job, man. So how are you feeling?
You know, I wish I could have gotten the win, but hey, it is what it is. Madeeh is a great debater, great competitor, always has been. So if I was going to lose to anybody, Madeeh is somebody I would be okay with losing to. But yeah, had a few days to prep. I thought I did pretty well for that. Truth be told, the only movies I watched that we debated in this 3-day span was Halloween and, the other shit stain that we call the Devil's Rejects. So that was great, and I watched them all yesterday. So that was fun. I knew I was going to lose the final question. That one I knew. So I was hoping, hey, if I get question 1, 2, or 3, kind of a combination of one of those, then, I feel pretty comfortable with, hey, it is what it is. Once again, I think he's a great debater. And, yeah, I'm very excited to see how I do with a week or two of prep.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we discussed, because of the way things have shaken out, you're not just playing in this match, you are taking a spot in the tournament as well. And as we previously discussed, when his match happened a few weeks ago, you are going up against Mr. JD Domash, who fell victim to Tyler Birch. You hosted that match. You were there for that match firsthand. So honestly, you can speak better than most competitors can on how you feel about your opponent. So how do you feel about it?
Look, if I was going to play anybody in the second round, because unlike Madeeh, I like to have my easy matches. You gotta like get yourself better. It would be against JD Domash. So JD, look, I saw you debate. The fact that you literally had 3.5 minutes to speak in every single round, and Tyler only had the 30 seconds and still kicked your ass, says something. JD, you can't just run over me, man. Tyler, you're a nice guy. Very nice. You'll let people do that if you want. I know you said, hey, it aggravated you, but hey, you're nice. You're not going to, just bulldoze over somebody. But JD, I will bulldoze over you like the Step Bro does in those Hey Step Bro videos. I will absolutely annihilate you, okay? If I was going to play anybody and get my first win, I know who it's going to be against, and it's going to be you. You're a nice guy. Really nice dude. I get it. But hey, there's no let me finish my point anymore. I'm going to tell you, fuck off, and I'm going to kick your ass in this match. Expect a knockout, ladies and gentlemen, because I need my win. And JD, look, if I did pretty well against a guy like Madeeh and was able to get a point against somebody who was as good as Madeeh with only a few days of prep, imagine what I could do to your ass with 2 weeks.
All right, I'm going to send you to the back. Thank you for that. And it's at that point that I'm going to say, despite the fact that Matt runs the channel, he does not run this show. He does not speak on behalf of the show. JD, you are not a target, and I am now scared for that match. But with that said, guys, I mean, come on. What more could you have asked for when the decision was made that, you know, every couple of weeks we're going to do some double build matches and we're going to put 2 fun matches together and make it happen? How could I not have put these 2 on this? And they delivered. Once again, please stick around. Very, very soon, going up will be Steve Mesa taking on the very first Movie Battleground champ in his return, Evan DeGraff. But on behalf of all our competitors, Madeeh Ur and Madeeh Ur Rehman, on behalf of my great judges, Jacob West and Chris Diaz, who helped us throughout the match, my name is Aaron Knoll, and we will see you guys next time on the Movie Battleground. See ya in just a little bit.